I'm Marcel. I write a blog Lesser Known Gems, and today is going to be a little bit different video, and it's because I just saw a film that pissed me off, and this film did something that a lot of different films have done and a lot of series have done, and it keeps pissing me off when they do this. And I'm going to talk about this using the book series that pissed me off first by doing this, Harry Potter. What I'm going to talk about is the Ensemble story. Now, the Ensemble story is about a group of people compensating for their weaknesses to achieve a common goal. Now, the point of these stories is to talk about teamwork and cooperation and about living in a community and all that good stuff. And now some of you might think, but wait, Harry Potter is a chosen one narrative. I mean, he's the chosen one, right? And to that I would say, love beats Voldemort. While it not be the Ensemble story formula, it still tries to be an ensemble story, and it fails the way a lot of other ensemble story fails. So why does it fail? The weaknesses and the failure that happens, and that sort of pisses me off, is simply by saying that the ensemble and the group is important, but not showing this. Now, this is very important because of why it's important to teach children and everyone else about community and teamwork. It's not because it makes us happy. We have drugs for that. They might be illegal, but we still have drugs for that. But even if we have the drugs to compensate that makes us all happy, we still need to be able to work in a community, because unless you're going to do a Lars Monson Bear Grylls living into the wilderness thing, you can't survive on your own in a modern society. Now, I don't know how to build a house. I don't know how to grow crop. I don't know how to make clothes. So I need someone with that set of skills to compensate for my weakness of not having that set of skills to be able to function, period. In the same sense that I have a set of skills, I have strengths, mostly being nerd, that I use to compensate for the weaknesses of other people who aren't nerds. And there's nothing wrong with being a nerd. And that's why we need to learn about teamwork and cooperation and community, because that's the way we can survive. And that's why it annoys me when these stories don't get that. They don't get that you can't just say community is important, teamwork is important. You actually have to show it. And this happens again and again and again in the Harry Potter series. And it's so prevalent. You can see that in the main three characters. By simply saying Harry Potter and Hermione Granger can pretty much do anything. The only thing they actually need is a physical other person who might do it because they're just two people, or they need exposition. So if they had an apparatus to clone themselves or have magical Google, they could pretty much just do the plot without anyone else. And yet the plot says we need other people because that's the point of the story. And it contradicts itself, mostly in regard to Ron, with how often Ron is separated from Hermione and Harry. Yes, Hermione is separated from Ron and Harry in the second book, but after that, it's so often that Harry and Hermione is going off to do the plot, and Ron, either because of his character arc or just after they sort of go into the magical ministry, it's sort of like, yeah, by the way, Ron, the person that you've polyjuiced into has a wife who's accused of being Muggle-born. You have to now go and save her. We'll go off and do the plot by ourselves. That happens again and again and again. And by doing that, by separating Ron from the other two, while being an incredible way of writing his character and his crutch, pretty much says he's pointless. We can do this on our own. And they do it on their own if someone just can give them the exposition to do it. And while you might disagree and you might not read this the same way I did, I really want you to then explain to me, what weakness does Harry and Hermione actually have? How would the story play out differently if Hermione and Harry didn't have a cloning machine and magical Google? Show me how these aren't totally pointless characters in what the point of the story is, because they don't have weaknesses that needs to be compensated by other people that can't. And you know why it's so annoying? It's because the mixture of Chosen One and Ensemble story has been done well. It is possible. And you want to know which book actually did it very well? The first book. The first book actually managed to mix it up and show how you can have a Chosen One narrative and still have a good ensemble story and plot. And that is so shown with the characters of Ron and Neville. Yeah, that's Neville. And that happens within sort of the two things that are happening with these two characters. So let's take Ron. Ron's a chess champion. Yeah, I know that's not mentioned anywhere else in the book series, but he's actually a chess champion. And the reason why he got interested in chess as it's presented in the book is because being the youngest and being always overshadowed, which is one of sort of his main weaknesses in the book series, was playing chess. Playing chess was a time and a place he was seen and he was heard, and that motivated him to do it more, not because he wanted to overshadow his siblings, but because he felt good, because he was seen and heard. And he then used that to enhance the plot by winning in these chess game. And having, for example, Hermione pulling out of a hat, yes, I know how to play chess, which you very well could do, would take away from the thing that was Ron Weasley, with the story and background of Ron Weasley doing it, and the strength of being Ron Weasley doing it. It would take away from that. It wasn't just someone needed to be a chess champion. Ron Weasley had to be a chess champion. And then we have Neville, and Neville's big moment, big story, which is so good. Neville is the Wooby. Neville is continually throughout the story beaten, pushed down. He's the weakness. His parents were huge fighters. His grandmother is this huge important character, and he is borderline squib. And he's so continually beaten down and down and down. And finally, he stands up for himself. And he stands up for himself in the safest of places. We are taught he stands up for himself to the good guys. When he says, I will not let you do this, he gets his voice. And in every other story, we are told this is a moment of victory. The underdog is finally standing up for himself. And what happens? The good guys beat him down. Finally, the weakest character stands up for himself, and the good guys beats him down and punishes him for it. And because of that, we know that there is nothing the good guys won't do to beat Voldemort. I mean, imagine if that was Malfoy. It wouldn't be the same impact, because Malfoy is the bad guy. So yeah, the good guys beat the weak bad guys before they're going to go and beat the big bad guys. The good guys are willing to beat down the weakest of the weak to do what it is they have to do. They do what they have to do to beat Voldemort. And that shows how good Neville the character was actually used in the first book. And that shows how important it is for his weakness and his strength. And his strength in this instance was his weakness, to be used in a good way to tell the story and to drive the plot. Because why do we need to be careful with these kinds of stories? I mean, isn't it just a film? Isn't it just a book? Can't you just turn off your brain and enjoy it? In the best scenario, the fact that you use Harry and Hermione this way just cancels out the point you're trying to make with community and teamwork and family and loving beating Voldemort and all of that stuff. And it becomes pointless. But that's the good scenario. The bad scenario has to do with something called social constructivist theory. So when Harry is the chosen one, and Harry, the story, has the character of saying that being the chosen one and saying that being in a part of the community is everyone just becoming exposition fodder and just being people who compensate with me and that I don't really have anything to do with, can impact people in how we treat each other and how we sort of think. And it's a way of sort of creating, not that it becomes pointless, but they actually go against it and saying that being egocentrical and thinking that everyone else just has to do everything for me is the way of being in a community. And that's, it's not just something that I should get, but I have a right to get. Because as the main character of my own story, don't I have the right to get everything I need to beat Voldemort? Leave your comments down below. And remember, it's better to be a witty fool than a foolish wit.